Let me tell you something no one may have ever said to you directly before. The biggest mistake you're making right now is caring too much about what others think. You're pouring far too much of your precious energy into explaining, justifying, seeking approval, asking for permission, when that same energy should be used to build the life you truly desire. And that's why you feel exhausted, because you're not living for yourself. You're living to meet the expectations of others. I understand. Ever since you were little, you've been taught to report, to ask, to be humble and open to feedback. But has anyone ever taught you that you don't owe anyone an explanation for your own journey of growth? No one. You don't need to tell anyone why you wake up early to read. You don't need to make a public announcement that you're going to the gym to improve your health. You don't need to ask for permission to start over. You don't need someone's nod of approval to begin living a more disciplined, focused, and powerful life. The only thing you truly need is determination from within and the ability to take action in silence. You might have once believed that sharing your dreams would motivate you more, that by saying it out loud, you'd receive encouragement. But what actually happens? Often, instead of support, you're met with skepticism, indifference, or even subtle ridicule. Someone might say, "Are you sure?" Or "That sounds really hard." And in that moment, even if they didn't mean harm, they planted a seed of doubt in you. You start questioning, am I being unrealistic? Am I just dreaming too big? And in that brief instant, the initial excitement you had begins to fade. Worse, science has shown that when you talk about your goals, your brain releases a dose of dopamine, tricking you into feeling like you've already accomplished something. But that's a false sense of satisfaction. You haven't done anything yet, but your brain thinks you have. And that illusion makes you less likely to act. It fools you into feeling fulfilled just by saying the words. You think you're on your way to success, while in reality, you haven't taken a single step forward. On top of that, when you share your goals hoping to gain validation, you're unconsciously shifting your motivation from internal to external. You begin to rely on others' reactions to feel worthy. But what happens if they're not enthusiastic, if they're indifferent? You start doubting yourself and eventually give up, not because you lack ability, but because you let their gaze define who you are. And I don't want that to keep happening to you. You don't need permission. You don't need to make announcements. You don't need to please anyone. The only thing you need to do is focus, take action, and guard your silence with strength. Because sometimes silence is the shield that protects your dreams from the noise that can throw you off course. Hold on to that focus, because you deserve the life you've quietly dreamed of. Have you ever felt filled with motivation, with a clear plan in your mind, only to have all that excitement vanish after just a few conversations with others? I believe you have, and you might not even realize the real reason why. Something as seemingly harmless as casually sharing your plans can have a more destructive impact than you'd expect. When you speak your dreams out loud too soon, you're not just revealing your goals, you're also opening the door to doubt, to negative reactions, to seemingly harmless remarks that quietly chip away at your inner confidence. You hope for support, a nod, a word of encouragement, but sometimes what you get in return is a doubtful look, an indifferent comment, or a dismissive remark like, "You think you can really do that?" And you know what? Just one sentence like that is enough to plant a seed of doubt inside you. You begin to question yourself. Am I being too ambitious? Maybe I should wait a little longer. And instead of moving forward, you start hesitating. What moves you ahead is not doubt, but trust. Trust in yourself. And once that trust begins to waver, your drive to act begins to fade. This isn't just an emotional reaction, it's backed by science. When you share your plans or goals with others, your brain gets a dopamine reward, as if you've already accomplished something significant. But that's just a false sense of having done it, when in fact, you haven't done anything yet. That artificial satisfaction makes you more lenient with yourself. You feel content for having said it out loud and no longer feel the urgency to actually begin. Everything stays in words and the action never begins. I'm not telling you this to make you afraid of sharing, but to help you understand Not every moment is the right time to speak up. Some dreams need to be nurtured in silence. Some goals need protection before they are strong enough to face the world. Every time you speak of something you haven't yet acted on, you're trading your inner power for a fleeting feeling. You let words substitute for action, and that doesn't help you move forward. It keeps you stuck. So next time you feel excited about a new plan, a big decision, a dream that's growing inside, keep it to yourself first. Let your actions speak before anyone else has a chance to judge, because if you stay silent long enough and act boldly enough, there will come a time when the world can no longer ignore you. And when that day comes, you won't need to say a word. Your results will speak for you. There's something I need you to remember deeply. Not every word comes from understanding, and not every piece of advice carries good intent. Sometimes what makes you hesitate is not failure. It's a throwaway comment from someone who doesn't truly understand the journey you're on. Maybe they were just joking. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt you. But once those words enter your mind, they quietly sever the connection between you and your inner belief. I've seen people abandon their dreams just because someone told them that's too hard. People like, you can't do that. Or worse, get real. Do you remember how you reacted when you heard things like that? You didn't shout back. You didn't argue, but something inside you began to shift. Excitement turned into hesitation. Confidence turned into anxiety. And you started telling yourself, maybe I should wait a bit longer. But how long will you wait? Until others believe in you. The truth is, many people can't even believe in themselves. So how could they possibly believe that you can do something different? They lack the courage to take risks. So they can't accept that you're willing to try what they once dreamed of, but never dared to start. They will unconsciously pull you back into the safe zone, the place where you seem normal, manageable, and non-threatening. But I want you to stay alert, because that has nothing to do with your capabilities. It's a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. And the more you seek consensus from the crowd, the further you drift from your own inner compass. Because true motivation never comes from external applause. It comes from your conscious decision that no matter what anyone says, you'll keep going. That you'll do what you believe is right, even if no one claps for you. And believe me, that's the most powerful way to live. A way that doesn't depend on approval, that doesn't trade your dreams for temporary comfort and others' acceptance. So the next time someone doubts you, questions the dream you're chasing, don't get angry. Just remember, they're not you. They don't live in your shoes. They can't feel the burning desire within your heart. And if they can't see it, that's okay, because your job isn't to make them understand. It's to make the dream real with unshakable belief and consistent action from within. There will be moments in life when you feel the pressure to prove yourself, to prove that what you're doing is right, that you're not useless, that you deserve to be seen and acknowledged. I understand that feeling, because we all at some point want to be recognized, to be understood. But let me tell you this with complete sincerity. You don't need to prove anything to anyone and for anyone. You don't need to show people that you're changing, that you're becoming more disciplined, working harder, living more intentionally. The truth is, many people are not deep enough to understand your journey, and they're not close enough to see the transformation happening within you day by day. All they see is the surface, that you show up less, talk less, no longer participate in meaningless gatherings like before, and they start to ask, why are you acting so strange lately? Is everything okay? Or worse, trying to act special now? But you know what? They're not asking because they care. They're asking because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. Your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation, and to restore their sense of comfort, they want you to go back to how you were, a version that's easier to understand, easier to predict, easier to control. But you weren't born to be predictable. You were born to grow, to strengthen, to rise beyond the person you were yesterday, not to simply fit into anyone's expectations. If every time you do something good for yourself, you have to explain it, apologize for it, or prove it, then that's no longer growth. It becomes negotiation. And real growth, my friend, should never require approval in order to happen. Stop explaining that you're prioritizing yourself, that you're focusing on what truly matters. Those who truly care will see it without needing you to explain. And those who don't understand, perhaps they were never truly willing to walk with you on this deeper journey anyway. So from now on, hold your head high and keep moving. No need to rush, no need to be loud, and absolutely no need to prove anything. Your life is not a performance report. It's an inner journey built on quiet consistency and unwavering belief. Hold on to that. And in the end, it will be the light of your results that speaks for you. Every morning when you wake up, you have a limited amount of energy. And how you use it determines the quality of that day and ultimately the life you are building. But sadly, so many people are exhausted not because they work too much, but because they waste energy on things that don't matter. They don't lack time, they just spend it in the wrong places. They don't lack capability, they just let other people's thoughts, emotions, and words drain them. I want you to take a hard look at your day. How much of it do you spend explaining yourself, responding to comments that add no value, arguing with people who don't truly understand you, and how much do you dedicate to fully focusing on your real goals? If you find that most of your energy is leaking through trivial things, then it's time to reset your boundaries. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's a necessary act of someone who takes their life seriously. Because not everyone deserves your attention, not every conversation needs your input, and not every relationship is worth maintaining. Some conversations only make you doubt yourself. Some reactions push you into defensiveness, anxiety, or distraction. And some words, though softly spoken, can still suffocate the motivation you just started to build. You don't need to respond to every invitation to talk. You don't need to join every discussion. You don't need to be friendly with people who silently drain you, because every interaction has a cost, and what you're paying with is your life energy, your precious focus. Use it instead for what truly matters, taking care of your body, sharpening your skills, strengthening your will, and step by step building the person you want to become. And you know what? Once you start setting clear boundaries, some people won't be pleased. They'll say you've changed, that you're cold, that you're selfish. But the truth is, you haven't changed. You're just returning to your true center. And the people who can't accept that are the very ones who used to benefit from your lack of boundaries. Protect your energy like it's your most precious asset, because it truly is. And when you preserve that pure source of strength within you, you'll find yourself more powerful, more clear-minded, and living a life untouched by things that don't deserve to hold you. Have you ever noticed that the ones who go the farthest in life are often the quietest? They don't need to speak to prove anything. They don't need to announce every new beginning, nor do they feel the urge to narrate every step of their journey, because they know something, a truth that once you grasp it, will shift the way you live. Results are the loudest proof, and silence is the strongest foundation for inner power. I'm not talking about passive silence, but intentional silence, a form of deep focus, rooted in the understanding that external noise can never propel you as far as internal stability. When you keep your goals to yourself, you protect your mind from being entangled in others' expectations, reactions, or judgments. You carve out a private space, a place where it's just you and the work that needs to be done. No distractions, no distortions. It's in that sacred space that perseverance is forged, willpower is born, and results begin to take root. You don't need to tell anyone that you're waking up at 5 a.m. to train. You don't need to post every step of your self-growth journey, because what you're pursuing is not validation, but transformation. And if that transformation is deep enough, it will speak for itself. No declarations needed. There's a special power in silence. It keeps your motivation from being stolen, because you're no longer dependent on applause, nor are you shaken by skeptical. You act because you choose to, not because you need to be seen. And when no one's watching, when no one's expecting, that's when you're forced to face yourself. And that's when true strength is revealed. I used to think I needed it to convince others before I could believe in myself. But I later realized the moment I stopped trying to persuade the world was the moment I began trusting myself the most. From that point forward, I acted without needing applause, I focused without needing an audience, and I moved forward not because of noise, but because of quiet, steady footsteps taken in silence. You can be that way too. Let others talk, let them speculate, let them doubt. Your job is to do silently, consistently, and with the quiet certainty that silence does not make you weaker. It makes you unstoppable in ways no one can predict. You don't need inspiration to begin. What you really need is discipline. Because inspiration, no matter how powerful, is just a passing wave. It comes when you hear a great song, watch an emotional video, or talk to someone who sparks a fire in you. But then what? When night falls, when you're tired, when there's no one around to cheer you on, that inspiration fades. And if you rely solely on inspiration, you'll always be starting and quitting, trapped in a cycle that leaves you exhausted and doubting yourself. I want you to face this head on. Success doesn't belong to the most fired up person. It belongs to the one who does the right thing even when they feel nothing at all. That is discipline. Discipline is when you drag yourself out of bed in the morning, even when no motivation is pulling you. It's when you open your laptop to write, to learn, to work, even when your mind craves a distraction. It's when you stick to your principles, not because you're excited, but because you made a promise. Discipline is the only bridge that connects dreams to reality, and no one else can cross that bridge for you. It demands repeated choices, daily, hourly, in every small act. And those small acts done consistently over time will reshape who you are. Imagine this. If every day you committed just 30 focused minutes to doing one right thing, reading, exercising, learning a skill, by the end of a year, you'd become a completely different version of yourself. Quietly, powerfully, substantially. Now, I'm not denying the value of inspiration, but I want you to understand, inspiration is a spark. Discipline is the fire. A spark burns brightly for a second, then vanishes if it doesn't catch. But a fire fueled with discipline burns through seasons. It keeps you warm through long winters. And if you want to go far, to live a deep, powerful, and purposeful life, you must light that fire with your daily consistency. Stop waiting for inspiration to begin. Choose to act first and let inspiration follow. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you no longer depend on it. You live by will, by principles, by an unshakable commitment. And that not fleeting emotion is what will lead you to the life you were truly meant to live. Focus for me is one of the rarest and most easily stolen forms of energy in modern life. And I say stolen because that's exactly what happens. There are people, situations, and seemingly harmless things that quietly pull you off the path you're walking, draining your time, your emotions, and your future without you even realizing it. The frightening part is you often don't notice you've lost your focus until it's too late. I know there are people who constantly pull you into pointless conversations. Messages you open out of politeness end up disturbing your peace for the rest of the afternoon. Comments that send you down a spiral for hours, either trying to craft the perfect response or worse, questioning your own self-worth. And just like that, a whole day slips away. Not because you were lazy, but because you let others consume your focus without your consent. You need to understand this. You can give others your time, but never give them control over your mind. Focus is what helps you see your direction clearly, stay motivated, and keep taking action regardless of the noise around you. Lose it, and you'll find yourself spinning in circles, busy but going nowhere. I've made this mistake before, letting others cut into my time and attention too easily. One random question, one unnecessary phone call, one casual invitation, and there goes a morning I could have used to finish writing a chapter or mastering a new skill. Later, I learned protecting your focus is as crucial as guarding your most valuable assets, because focus is what creates assets. Be ruthless in choosing what deserves space in your day. Be brave enough to say no to anything that pulls you off track, no matter how harmless it seems, no matter how familiar it feels. And if you feel guilty for doing so, remember this: you're not rejecting people, you're prioritizing your future. From now on, before you reply to a message, click a link, or enter a conversation, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to the person I want to become? If the answer is no, walk away. Guard your focus like a sacred flame, and don't let anyone blow it out just because they want your attention. You have the right to choose what's worthy of your gaze, your listening, and your actions. And when you hold on to that, you will go farther than anyone ever expected. I know that feeling. When you show up every day, do everything right, stay disciplined, take quiet action, and still nothing seems to change. No praise, no recognition, no sign that you're making progress. And then you start to wonder, does this even matter? Is it worth continuing if I'm not seeing any results? My friend, it's in these exact moments that you must hold firm. Because most people don't quit because they're not good enough. They quit because they gave up too soon. Results don't always show up immediately. Sometimes you see nothing on the surface, yet beneath it, the seed is silently sprouting. You can't see a tree growing millimeter by millimeter each day, but it's still growing. In the same way, every early morning you wake up, every time you say no to distraction, every moment you choose action over delay, you're laying another brick in the foundation of the life you're building. And if you keep at it long enough, nothing can stop you. Don't let the silence of results deceive you into thinking you're failing. Not all progress makes noise. A strong body isn't built in a week of workouts. A stable career isn't born from a month of hard work. A resilient mind doesn't emerge from just a few meditation sessions. It all takes time, repetition, and a quiet kind of belief. The kind that whispers, if I don't quit, I'll get there. I've been through those hopeless phases, working without seeing outcomes, writing with no readers, learning with no acknowledgement. But I kept going, not because it was always easy, but because I understood this: only consistency brings lasting change. And then one day, the results came, not with noise or fanfare, but with enough presence to show me that the silent days weren't wasted. You'll have that day too, but only if you don't stop. Even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, even when you have no idea what lies ahead, keep moving. Because as long as you're still walking, you're still progressing. And in the end, you, not anyone else, will prove that success doesn't belong to the best starter, but to the one who refuses to quit. So don't stop. Even if today feels like nothing's working, do it anyway. Tomorrow or the day after, life will respond. And it will respond in a way that makes every step you took in silence completely worth it. You don't need anyone's permission to start living a more meaningful life. You don't need consensus to pursue what you believe is right. You don't need approval to become a better version of yourself. And without a doubt, you don't need a nod from anyone to begin. You are already enough. Enough reason, enough capability, enough worth to begin on your own. The only thing you need now is action. I understand why you're waiting for someone to validate you, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until you're no longer afraid. But listen, if you're waiting for fear to disappear, you might be waiting forever, because fear never really leaves. It is only ever overcome. And action is the only way to walk through fear, step out of your comfort zone, and move forward, even when you don't know what lies ahead. The truth is, no one can fully understand your dream the way you do. No one can feel your heart race the way it does when you think about the life you long for. So stop expecting them to give you the green light. Your life doesn't need to be signed off by anyone. It just needs to be started by you. And when you do act, you'll realize no one has ever held you back more than your own mind. I once spent far too long waiting for that right feeling to arrive. Waiting to feel more confident, waiting for someone to say, you should go for it. But then I realized if I keep waiting for someone else to hit the switch, I'm handing over the steering wheel of my life. I had to become the one who flips the switch myself. Not loudly, not needing anyone to see, just by showing up through action. Action is the strongest declaration you can make. No long explanations, no big announcements. Just one clear step forward is enough to silence every doubt. You can write the first page of the book you've been dreaming about. You can restart the course you once left unfinished. You can redesign your daily routine to live with more intention. No one will grant you permission because that power has always been yours. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this final part, it's this. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. Stop wondering what others will think. Stop waiting. Every moment you delay is a moment of life slipping by. Instead, begin right now with the smallest action. Because once you dare to act, every other door will start to open. You don't need applause. You don't need declarations. You just need to move and never look back.